Suspense. On the wine lists of America's most distinguished hotels and restaurants, the honored wine featured is Cresta, Blanca, Cresta Blanca. Cresta Blanca. Yes, Cresta Blanca wines are featured in America's smartest dining places because these treasured wines are favorite selections of those who know fine cuvées. Let Cresta Blanca California wines lend gracious distinction to your dining, too. Enjoy delightful Cresta Blanca Burgundy, Sauterne, or any Cresta Blanca table wine soon. Shenley's Cresta Blanca Wine Company, Livermore, California.
And now, Shenley brings you radio's outstanding theater of thrills,
Suspense.
Presented by Roma Wines. That's Roma. Roma Wines, for your everyday enjoyment.
Tonight, Roma Wines of Fresno, California bring you Jerome Cowan in Mortmain, a suspense play produced, edited, and directed for Shenley by William Spear.
Sitting in a chair across the table from me was a dead man. His stiff, cold fingers still touched the shotgun he'd thought would safeguard his life. Police Chief Martin couldn't seem to sit still a minute. He kept pacing the floor behind me, back and forth, back and forth. We'd been waiting a couple of hours already for the coroner to arrive and examine Screed's body. Meanwhile, every cop in the city was out looking for George Perry, the obvious murderer. Where the devil was that coroner? You know, it's not the pleasantest thing in the world to sit around a dirty kitchen with nothing to do but stare into the face of a dead man and think. Think how it all started that day less than 3 years ago when George Perry, my law partner at the time,
Sam,
walked into our office and told me the good news.
Sam, oh boy, congratulate me.
What for?
You're looking at the next district attorney.
What? You?
Yep, it's in the bag. I've just come from a talk with Harry Polk, and he told me that when the committee holds its meeting next month, they're going to nominate none other than yours truly.
I see.
And that's as good as election in this town.
Yeah, but I thought...
You thought you were going to get it, huh? I'm sorry, Sam. I just assumed you did get it, really. I didn't go looking for it, you know that, but they picked me for some reason. And what's the difference, Sam? What's good for me is good for you. We're partners, aren't we? And we'll stay partners.
Oh, yes, of course. Congratulations, George.
You don't really mind, do you, about the nomination?
Oh, no, it doesn't matter.
Well, I thought not. After all, my being the DA will bring the firm a lot of business, Sam. Well, I got to go tell Alice. She'll be tickled pink to hear the news. But keep it under your hat, Sam. It's not official until the committee meeting.
I understand. I watched George leave the office. George, the smiling and the debonair, the most popular lawyer in town. But it was my work that made him look good in court. My brain that brought him every easy success at the bar. And I hated him for having so easily gotten what I'd have given half my life for. He'd gotten himself engaged to Alice, the girl I wanted almost as much as I wanted to live. Now he'd taken the first step in a political career that could lead anywhere. I'd tried by fair means to get the same things and failed. Now I would try other means. I picked up my hat and walked out of the office. I went down to the waterfront to see a certain Mr. Screed.
Yes. Oh, hello.
Let me in quick. I don't want to be seen.
Sure. Come in.
Are you alone?
I always am. It ain't quite right, is it, Mr. Boston? Coming to see the foreman on a case you're going to try tomorrow?
I'm not going to try that case tomorrow. I know I picked the jury today, but I won't be at the trial. My partner will be trial counsel.
Well, it still ain't right, it seems to me.
Never mind that, Screed. I think you and I can get along.
Always aim to get along. Not that I got rich at it, but I ain't complaining. Not too much.
Listen, Screed, I know you're hard up.
It ain't no secret. I guess everyone in the city knows that.
I can put $10,000 in your way, Screed.
Huh?
Cash.
10,000? Hey, that case don't rate no 10,000. Why, you could buy the complaining witness for 1/10 of that.
I know. I'm not interested in the case as a case. But I am interested in your being the foreman of that jury.
I don't get it.
First, let's understand each other. I'm offering you $10,000 for certain services. Are you interested?
You kidding? Why, for 10 grand, I'd just about commit murder.
I thought I had the right man. Now listen.
Hear ye, all persons having business before this honorable court of criminal sessions. Draw near and give your attention, ye shall be heard. First case on the calendar, People against Henry Barron. Both sides ready.
Your Honor, please. There's been a substitution of counsel for the defendant. I will try this case in place of Mr. Boston, who was taken ill yesterday afternoon.
Very well, Mr. Perry. The clerk will note your appearance. Is the assistant district attorney ready to proceed?
Ready, Your Honor.
Call your first witness.
Just a minute, Judge.
What is it, Mr. Screed?
Before this case begins, I've got something to say.
Does it pertain to this trial? You're not seeking to be excused from jury duty at this late hour, are you?
Well, that depends, Your Honor. Maybe I'd better not serve on this jury.
Why not?
Because the defendant's attorney tried to bribe me last night.
What?
That's a lie. My partner would do no such thing.
I ain't talking about your partner. I'm talking about you, George Perry.
What?
Come out of that jury box, Mr. Screed. Step up here. Clerk, swear him.
You solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
You charge Mr. Perry with an attempted bribe, Mr. Screed?
I do.
Your Honor, I protest. This outrageous
You
charge...
have your opportunity to defend yourself, Mr. Perry, in the proper place and at the proper time. Just now I'm interested in this charge. Mr. Screed, you understand you're under oath. I want your entire story.
Well, there ain't much to tell. Last night about 10 o'clock, I was home having some coffee. I heard a knock at the door, and I go to answer it. It's Mr. Perry. He comes in and he tells me that his partner is sick and that he's taking over the case. I tell him maybe he oughtn't to be talking to me, but he winks at me and he says it'll be all right. So I let him talk just to see what's in the wind.
I was never at his house. The man's lying.
Quiet. Proceed, Mr. Screed.
He tells me he's out to make a reputation for himself. And while this case is peanuts, still he wants to win it. He knows he can't unless he's got someone on the jury to cooperate. And he thinks maybe I'm his man. He offered me $200 to hold out for an acquittal.
Did you take the money?
Well, sure. Sure, I played right along, Your Honor. I told him I'd do what he wanted. But all the time, I was just kidding him. See, I was going to tell you what happened just as soon as court opened. Here, Your Honor. Here's the 200. Brand new $100 bills.
Why didn't you notify the authorities sooner?
Well, there wasn't no hurry, was there, Judge? He wasn't going to run away. And I knew I could spill the beans this morning instead of wasting half the night down at headquarters.
Your Honor, may I question that man?
You may not.
But he's crucifying me with a wicked lie. I should have the right to defend myself, to cross-examine him.
You will have that right in the proper forum. I declare a mistrial in the case before me. The assistant district attorney will obtain a copy of the minutes for preparation to the presentation to the grand jury. Bailiff, you will place Mr. Perry under arrest. Court's adjourned.
I showed the proper expected astonishment at the news. I expressed my sympathy in 100 different ways. I even arranged bail and took on my partner's defense personally. And when I spoke to George, already half broken under the strain, and to Alice, filled with worry and doubt, I was as calm and assured as a retired bank president. Why, it's as plain as the nose on your face, George. It's a political trick. The opposition somehow heard about your being the next DA and were out to spike you before you even got started.
But who did it?
You leave that to me. I'll get him, whoever he is, and when I do, the case will fall apart.
Sam, I don't know what we'd do without you. You've been like the Rock of Gibraltar to both of us. If we didn't have you to turn to...
You leave everything to Sam, Alice. He'll get your George out of this jam and know the reason why.
I know it, Sam. Darling, you see, everything will be all right.
But we haven't gotten anywhere, Sam. Not a single clue to the man behind this.
Something will turn up. We still have 3 weeks before the trial. Now, if you're innocent, George, you're not going to jail.
If I'm innocent? There's no question of that in your mind, is there?
Well, that doesn't really matter. You're going to beat this rap. Now, don't you worry.
No, Sam, no, you can't believe it. You can't really think I tried to bribe him. You know me better than that, Sam.
Sure, George, sure. I don't believe it. Now, I'm naturally going to give my full time to getting up your defense, and Alice can help me.
Oh, Sam, I don't know how to thank you for standing by us. I'll never forget this. Never.
Well, you'd do the same for me, wouldn't you? All right now, you two. Don't worry. You've got an awfully good lawyer, you know. I got George to go away up to Fieldstone for a few weeks. I spent a lot of time driving Alice around in search of non-existent witnesses. My zeal and devotion to George were unbounded. And if I failed to find any proof of his innocence, it hurt me as much as it did Alice. In time, even she began to wonder, to have a gnawing doubt.
Doesn't look good, does it?
No, not too good.
Sam, what are we going to do?
Oh, now don't you get to worrying, Alice. A smart lawyer can do a lot, even without witnesses. Don't forget, the law assumes that a man is innocent until he's proved to be guilty, beyond a reasonable doubt.
Sam, I've never asked you this. I've always wanted to go on thinking that George was innocent. But I must know. Did he do it?
Alice.
Did he, Sam? You would know.
No, Oh, if I did know, I wouldn't tell you.
Why, Sam? Why should he have done a thing like that? It wasn't an important case. It didn't really matter if he lost it.
Well, he'd just been offered the nomination for district attorney. Maybe that had something to do with it. Who knows? All I can say is I'll do my best to get him off.
Sam, you've been just wonderful. I've never really known how wonderful you could be until this past month. You've worked so hard. You've been so understanding, so sympathetic. If it hadn't been for you, I couldn't have gone on. No matter how this turns out, I want you to know I'll always be grateful.
Thanks, Alice. Well, tomorrow is our big day in court, and I want to be on my toes. For George and for you. Good night, dear. I was brilliant in court that day. Every legal dodge, every technicality that the law allowed, I made use of. From the last spectator in the last crowded row to the judge on the bench. They all knew that I was putting up the greatest legal fight they'd ever witnessed. But I couldn't break the keystone of the prosecution, the testimony of Screed. No matter how much I went over his testimony, his story stood up, became stronger with every question I hammered home. And when I put George Perry on the stand in his own defense, he still had no alibi for the hours during which he was supposed to have visited Screed. His story that he'd been riding in his car seemed almost ridiculous. When the jury came in with its verdict, I knew very well what it would be.
Gentlemen of the jury, have you agreed upon a verdict?
We have, Your Honor.
And how do you find? Guilty or not guilty?
We find the defendant, George Perry, guilty as charged.
No! I'm innocent! I'm innocent!
Quiet, George.
And so say you all?
And so say we all.
The clerk will record the verdict. George Perry, rise and face the bench.
Your Honor, this is a grave miscarriage of justice.
The court fully appreciates, Mr. Boston, your tireless energy and diligence on behalf of your partner and friend. However, George Perry, you have been found guilty of bribery of a judicial officer under Section 371 of the Penal Code, which defines a juror as a judicial officer. As provided by law, you are subject to imprisonment for not more than 10 years and fine of not more than $5,000. Because of your previous record of good conduct, I shall impose no fine and shall not subject you to the full term of imprisonment. But you are sentenced to serve 5 years in the state's prison. You're remanded to the custody of the warden of such prison at once.
For Suspense, Roma Wines are bringing you Jerome Cowan in Mortmain. Roma Wines' presentation tonight in radio's outstanding theater of thrills, Suspense.
Suspense, radio's outstanding theater of thrills, is being brought to you by Roma. That's R-O-M-A. Roma Wines, America's largest selling wines. This last day of July is a warm reminder that after a hot day's work or play, the tasty refreshment of a tall, frosty Roma wine and soda is so cool to come home to. Yes, Roma wine and soda gives you quick, thirst-quenching pleasure on the hottest day. A cooling treat that your family and friends will cheer to the echo. To prepare, simply half-fill glasses with robust Roma California Burgundy, or delicate Roma Sauterne, or any Roma wine. Fill with ice and sparkling water, sweeten to taste. In less time than it takes to tell, you're enjoying America's smartest summer drink. For delicious, low-cost refreshment or entertainment, enjoy Roma Wine and Soda, made with better-tasting Roma wine, America's favorite wine.
And now, Roma Wines bring back to our Hollywood soundstage Jerome Cowan as Sam Boston in Mortmain, a play well calculated to keep you in suspense.
So I lost the case. But losing that one, of course, helped me. I gained a swift popularity not only with the public, but with the politicians who have an eye open for brilliant lawyers. It wasn't long before I was having a little talk with Harry Polk and was being offered the nomination that should have been mine in the first place. The next thing I wanted was Alice. For the next year and a half, I was after her until finally she said yes, and our engagement was announced. The whole town congratulated us. And then George, with time off for good behavior, came home from prison. One afternoon, I went to call on Alice. He was there.
Hello, Sam.
George, you're crazy to have come back here. You should have gone where you're not known, started new, where your record won't be held against you.
I don't want to start new. I came back here for a purpose.
And that?
I'm going to find the man who framed me, and when I do, I'll kill him.
Oh, that's not good. Not good to talk that way,
I know
George.
you both think I'm guilty. Everyone else thinks so. But I know I'm innocent, and I'm going to prove it if it takes me the rest of my life.
How are you going to live? No job, no money.
I'll get something to do. I'll shine shoes if I have to.
Oh, I wish I could help you, George. But you realize my position.
I'm not looking for help from anyone.
Okay, George. But if you want my advice...
I'm not taking advice anymore, Sam. Not from you or anyone else. I'm in this on my own. And I'll get him.
Alice, you mustn't see George.
Why not?
I can't allow it, Alice. My fiancé consorting with a jailbird. My reputation doesn't permit such things.
George may have been in jail, but he's not a jailbird.
Well, it amounts to the same thing. I demand you stop seeing him.
Sam.
What?
I'm going to break our engagement. George needs me. He needs me desperately, and I want to help him.
Alice, you can't mean you're still in love with him.
Oh, I don't know. After all these months, it's hard to say whether I'm in love with him or not. But he needs help, and I'm the only one he can turn to.
Well, what about me?
You don't need me, Sam.
I don't need you the way he does for a prop and a consolation prize. I love you, isn't that enough?
You don't love me, Sam. I've always been second to your career.
And now you're doing your best to ruin that career for me.
How so?
Don't you see what it'll mean? You're breaking your engagement at this time, just when I'm about to get the nomination for judgeship? Nobody respects a man who's been jilted. Just keep on going with me as though nothing had happened. Afterward, we can break off gradually.
Yes. All right, Sam. Now, I think you'd better go.
Evening, Mr. Prosecutor.
Come in. All right, Screed, what is it?
Can I talk? Ain't nobody going to hear me.
No, the servants are off tonight. You can talk.
He's been around to see me.
George? Perry?
Mm-hmm. He wants to know who was behind it.
Well, naturally, you sent him about his business.
Not quite. Said I might have something for him, maybe.
What do you mean?
He showed me a roll of bills. Came close to $5,000. It was mine for just one name. That's all he wanted, just the name.
Do you know what would happen to you if you so much as hinted at it?
I know I'd get $5,000 from Mr. Perry.
And 10 years in jail for perjury and accepting a bribe. I still have your written statement, you know, right here in my safe.
You couldn't use it.
Oh, couldn't I? Why not? A confession that you'd been bribed to frame Perry. Bribed by an unknown man representing Perry's political opponents.
How would you explain you're not using it before this?
Oh, very easily, Mr. Screed. It just came into my possession. Came to me in the mail.
I still don't think you'd use it. You see, I kind of figure you'd be dead before that. That Perry, he means business.
Got it all figured out, haven't you?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I reckon I'm sitting pretty.
All right. How much?
Well, now, I won't be a hog. Let's say another 10, huh? You can scrape that much together, I reckon.
On one condition.
Oh, yeah? What's that?
That you go away and never come back.
Oh, I like it here.
Then it's no deal.
Okay, I can still get that 5,000.
Wait. I know I'm a fool to give it to you, but there's nothing else I can do. When do you have your appointment with Perry?
I don't have one. I told him I'd get in touch with him.
I'll have the money for you tomorrow night. Don't come here. I'll bring it to your house.
Don't try any cute tricks.
I'll see you tomorrow night, okay?
Okay. Good night, Mr. Prosecutor.
After he left, I wore the rug in my library while I thought about it. I knew this payment was only the beginning. Screed would go on with his blackmail until he bled me white. Something had to happen. And it did.
I've got to talk to you.
George, sure. Come in. Well, what's on your mind?
Two things. Alice and the man who framed me.
Yes?
I know how it is with you and Alice, Sam. She told me you let her out of her engagement after the election.
What else could I do?
Well, it was decent of you not to put up a fuss.
Well, where would that get me? But what about the man you say framed you? Do you have anything on that?
Well, I've been putting the pressure on Screed. I think he'll talk. But I need $5,000 to pay him.
Oh.
You know, I don't have that kind of money. I could get it from Alice, but I'd rather not.
You want me to give it to you?
Would you?
Now, listen to me, George. If I thought paying him $5,000 would do any good, I'd let you have it. But it won't. He'll just take your money and give you a runaround.
But, Sam, if...
Let me finish. You know what would happen to him if you shot off his mouth? He'd be killed. He knows that, too. He's not going to talk for $5,000 or $50,000. Forget it, George.
Well, maybe you're right, Sam. I just thought...
I know you're willing to grab at any straw. And there's another thing. Your loose talk about killing the man who framed you. The police know about it, and if it weren't for me, you would have been picked up. I understand you've gone and bought yourself a gun.
Yes, I did.
Give it to me. I'll turn it in.
All right, Sam. Here it is.
Just put it on the desk. Now, you follow my advice. Get out of town. Leave as soon as you can.
Oh, I've been a fool. Sam, someone promised me a job out on the coast. I'll go tomorrow night. Alice can follow me after election. And, Sam, thanks. Thanks for pounding some sense into my head.
Oh, you know how I feel about you, George.
Yes, I know. And I wish you every success in the election, Sam. I know you'll make a good judge.
Goodbye, George. And luck to you. You'll need it. It was shortly after 10 the following night that I drove out to Screed's with George's gun wrapped in a handkerchief in my pocket. I parked the car a short way down the road and walked quietly toward the house. I looked in at the kitchen window and saw Screed sitting at the table. His chin was on his chest. He was breathing slowly and regularly through his sleep. He was prepared for me, waiting with a shotgun in his hands. But I wouldn't ring the doorbell to wake him. Oh, no. I quietly opened the kitchen door, tiptoed across the floor, and placed George's gun, which I held in my handkerchief, against the back of Screed's head. His head bobbed forward, and that was all. His body didn't move. His finger remained motionless on the cocked trigger of the shotgun resting on the table. Well, that was that. Two birds with one stone. Screed dead, George Perry the obvious murderer. I dropped the revolver on the floor and went out. And when I got home, I phoned Chief Martin. He said...
What's on your mind, Sam?
Martin, I'm worried. George Perry has been over at my house making all sorts of wild threats about killing the man who testified against him. I wish you'd send someone out there and get the old man to take precautions.
Sure, Mr. Boston. I'll do that right away. I heard about Perry's talking wild. Maybe I ought to lock him up just to be on the safe side.
Oh, I don't think you can. Not enough to hold him. But it might be a good idea to give Screed a bodyguard until I can have another talk with Perry.
I'll tend to it right away.
And then I went to bed. I didn't have very long to wait. Hello?
Mr. Boston, I've got some bad news for you. Our man got out there too late.
What do you mean?
Screed's dead. Shot right through the head.
Good heavens.
Better come out here.
I'll be there in half an hour.
Perry sneaked up on him and shot him. Screed must have been tipped off that Perry was out to get him. Sat up waiting with the shotgun.
Have you found Perry yet?
No, I have a dragnet out for him, though. He won't get away. I'm having the gun traced and examined for prints. We'll have the report pretty soon.
When is the coroner coming?
In a couple of hours, he's tied up. But you don't have to wait.
I may as well while I'm here. I sat down in the kitchen chair across from Screed. Now he'd never talk. And Alice, any last vestige of feeling she had for George would disappear with his arrest. Everything was working out fine. I looked at Screed. His position hadn't changed. His hand still clutched the shotgun, and I smiled, thinking how much he'd like to pull that trigger if he was still alive. And even as the smile crossed my face...
Oh! Mr. Boston! Mr. Boston! Oh, my gosh, what's happened?
The gun went off. My chest.
Hey, what's the matter here? Let's have a look. Oh, my.
Give it to me straight, Doc. Will I live or won't I?
A couple of hours, more or less.
You're certain?
I'm sorry, Mr. Boston.
Okay, I've got something to say. Get a stenographer. Take it all down.
All right, Boston, we got it all. Don't talk anymore.
So old Screed got to use his shotgun after all. Mortmain.
What's that?
Mortmain. The dead hand. It's a lawyer's joke, Doc. You wouldn't understand.
Can't say I do.
Oh, never mind. By the way, what was it? Some sort of miracle? Divine justice acting through a corpse?
If you want to call it that. Really, just a tightening of the finger muscles that caused the trigger to be pulled back. We doctors call it rigor mortis.
Suspense.
Mortmain, starring Jerome Cowan and presented by Roma Wines. That's R-O-M-A, Roma, California Wines. Selected from the world's greatest reserves of fine wines for your pleasure. If you were to see how Roma wines are grown, you would readily understand why Roma is America's favorite wine. First, you would see how Roma selects and presses the choicest California grapes. Then, how these finer natural juices are guided unhurriedly with ancient skills and America's greatest winemaking resources to peak taste richness. Finally, you'd see these Roma wines placed with mellow Roma wines of years before to await later selection for your pleasure. Only a few can see how Roma creates better tasting wines, but everyone can enjoy this better taste. Whether your favorite wine is nut-like Roma California Sherry, Ruby Roma Port, or Golden Roma Muscatel, you'll find any Roma wine your best buy in better taste, for everyday enjoyment, for friendly entertaining. So, when you buy wine tomorrow, insist on Roma.
Jerome Cowan may currently be seen in the 20th Century Fox production, Miracle on 34th Street. Tonight's suspense play was by George and Gertrude Fass. Next Thursday, same time, you will hear Walter Abel as star of Suspense. Produced and directed by William Spear for the Roma Wine Company of Fresno, California. In the coming weeks, Suspense will present such stars as Donald O'Connor, John Lund, Edmund O'Brien, Lloyd Nolan, and others. Make it a point to listen each Thursday to Suspense, radio's outstanding theater of thrills. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Suspense. Among wine stewards, the men who are responsible for the wine selections in the cellars of famous hotels and restaurants, the choice is Cresta, Blanca, Cresta Blanca, Cresta Blanca. Yes, with professional hosts who know how to please the palates of America's most discriminating guests, Cresta Blanca California wines richly bespeak gracious hospitality. So compliment your guests by serving the best. For distinguished entertaining, pour magnificent Cresta Blanca sherry, port, muscatel, or any Cresta Blanca wine. From the finest of the vines, it's Cresta Blanca wine. Shenley's Cresta Blanca Wine Company, Livermore, California.
And now, Shenley brings you radio's outstanding theater of thrills, Suspense. Presented by Roma Wines. That's R-O-M-A. Roma Wines for your everyday enjoyment.
Tonight, Roma Wines of Fresno, California bring you Mr. Walter Abel in Quiet Desperation, a suspense play produced, edited, and directed for Shenley by William Spear.
It was during my lunch hour one day. Funny, I can't even remember the name of the book. Anyway, the sentence was, "The mass of men lead lives of quiet desperation." I couldn't seem to get past that sentence, quiet desperation. That was me the author was talking about, Homer Bigelow. And suddenly I thought, why should I go on like that? I was desperate, okay, but why should I be quiet? Why shouldn't I do something about it? Get myself out of the rut. All I needed was the right break. It came a lot sooner than I expected. One day, just before my vacation, I happened to overhear Mr. Pearson, he's president of the bank, talking to one of the bank's directors, Corbin Vandergrift. Usually their conversation is about debentures or first mortgages or government issues. That stuff doesn't interest me. Today, their talk was a horse of another color. It was a hot day, and the door of the boss's office was open. They didn't even know I was alive.
Well, I understand she's no great beauty, but it's just as well she doesn't attract too much attention going through customs at both ends.
You mean to say, Corbin, that a young girl is willing to take the risk of violating her country's currency controls?
Evidently. Of course, she feels exactly as her father does. But they should be free over there to spend their own money wherever they choose.
Right.
Old Vale would break every law they've written there just for the satisfaction of knowing he's outwitted them.
Mm-hmm.
And Hester probably feels the same way about it.
Well... Then he'll probably get quite a kick out of slipping 20,000 pounds out of the country.
Not pounds, John. But they might as well be. They're just about as negotiable as cold cash. But when that girl turns them over to me, I can walk into any dealer in the city and get full market value in 10 minutes. And I intend to do it for them. I'm in complete sympathy. No government on earth could tell me where and when and how to spend my own money.
Once she gets the money, what is she going to do with it?
Oh, I don't know, and I don't care. My guess is that she's going to do some shrewd buying of highly scarce products for shipment back abroad. Leave it a Vale to find a profitable deal.
When is she arriving?
Monday on the Elizabeth. I've engaged a suite for her at the Ambassador. I wrote them that I'd meet her at the boat, take her to her hotel, get the negotiables, and exchange them for her. That afternoon she can throw the dollars out of the window for all that matters to me. My duty will be over.
Well, aren't you going to entertain her while she's here so that she has a good time?
Entertain her?
Sure.
I should say not. I don't even know the girl. Besides, I'm a little old for that sort of thing.
Oh, Corbin.
Wait, it's Killian.
I wondered what Mr. Pearson would say if any of us employees at the bank were to play fast and loose with the law the way Corbin Vandergrift and that snooty dame Hester Vale were doing. He wouldn't be quite so sympathetic and understanding. You can bet your bottom dollar on that. That kind of skullduggery was labeled strictly for the rich. I should have put the whole thing out of my mind, but somehow I couldn't. 20,000 pounds. $80,000 in American money. I stood there outside Mr. Pearson's office. I was shaken out of my quiet desperation somehow. I just stood there, dreaming about romance and adventure that you could buy with money.
Well, Homer, you all set for your vacation?
Oh, yes, sir. Leaving Friday for good old Eel River. My 13th year up there.
Well. I envy you. I won't be going up until September.
Well, then you'll be fishing up at Eel River again this summer, too.
Oh, yes, indeed. I wouldn't miss it for anything. I wrote Emil and told him to expect me. Say, we'll be quite a party this year, 5 of us. By the way, did I tell you about the trout I caught last year?
Yes.
It weighed close
The
to
bank president and his lowly employee both went to the same place for their vacation. But what a difference. When he went out fishing, he had 2 guides per man with him. To pack and to carry, to paddle and to cook, to set up camp, to do everything that needed doing. Whereas I had to do everything for myself and by myself.
Have a good time, Homer. I'll see you when you return. I'll say goodbye now, son. I won't be back anymore today.
Goodbye, sir, and thank you. I had my lunch that day as usual. In the boardroom, Jenny, Mr. Pearson's secretary, had left the door to his office open so that if the phone should ring, I could take the message while she was out. The phone did ring, and it was Corbin Vandergrift.
Who is this?
This is Homer Bigelow, Mr. Vandergrift.
Oh, yes, Homer. Excuse me. Make sure to give this message to Mr. Pearson. I'm laid up here in the country with a cold. Won't be able to get into the city for that appointment on Monday. Mr. Pearson knows about it. I say Mr. Pearson knows about it. Ask him to meet Miss Vale at the boat for me and see to it that she's settled at the hotel. Tell him not to expect me back in the city until next Wednesday at the earliest.
Yes, sir.
Tell him I'll take care of that financial matter for Mrs. Vale when I get in. It can wait until Wednesday.
Yes, sir.
And tell him not to bother to call me. I'm going to spend this week in bed. I don't want to be disturbed.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Homer.
So Mr. Vandergrift was indisposed. Too bad. And now the girl would have to be met by a substitute, a stranger. Well, she didn't know either Vandergrift or Pearson from a hole in the ground. So what did it matter? And if it came to that, why did the substitute have to be Mr. Pearson? Why couldn't it be me?
For Suspense, Roma Wines are bringing you Walter Abel in Quiet Desperation. Roma Wines' presentation tonight in radio's outstanding theater of thrills, Suspense.
Suspense, radio's outstanding theater of thrills, is being brought to you by Roma. That's R-O-M-A, Roma Wines, America's largest selling wines. Mark Twain once said, "Everybody talks about the weather, but nobody does anything about it." Well, that may have been true in Mark Twain's time, but today it's a different story. Today, there's an easy way to beat the heat. Just half fill a glass with better tasting Roma wines, such as rich Roma Tokay, fruity Roma Zinfandel, or mellow Roma Claret. Add ice, fill up with soda, sweeten to taste, and garnish with fragrant mint or fruit slices. Then, lean back and enjoy Roma wine and soda, America's smartest, coolest summer drink. I'm sure you'll agree that Roma wine and soda, so delicious, so refreshing, so cool to come home to, is the perfect warm weather thirst quencher. Perfect for summer entertaining. So inexpensive, too. It's a hot idea to treat your family and friends to cold, refreshing Roma wine and soda made with better tasting Roma wines. America's favorite wines.
And now, Roma Wines bring back to our Hollywood soundstage Walter Abel as Homer Bigelow, with Kathy Lewis as Hester Vale in Quiet Desperation, a play well calculated to keep you in suspense.
My days of quiet desperation were over. Anyone taking a real close look at me that Friday wouldn't have been sure I had a fever. My face felt hot, and every now and then I had a fit of trembling, but evening finally came. I gulped down some food at the cafeteria, picked up my bags at home, and went to the station. The next day, I was saying hello to Emil on the platform of the Eel River station.
Homer. Comment ça va?
Hello, Emil. Glad to see you again.
How is my bon ami, Mr. Pearson?
Fine. He sends his regards. How's the fishing?
Oh, magnifique. The best ever, eh?
Many others on the river, Emil?
Not a one. The fish, they are hungry like anything, and not the one to give them small fry to eat. Now you come, Homer, and they will be all for you.
That's fine. I'll get started right out. Is everything all set?
Oui, tout prêt. Everything is ready, eh? Cut.
In half an hour, I was at the camp on the shore of Eel River. I had lunch, changed my clothes, put my city clothes into my pack instead of into my suitcase, which I was going to leave in camp. And by 3 o'clock, I was a good 8 miles up Eel River. By 4, I had hidden my canoe and equipment in some bushes along the bank. And, dressed again in city clothes, was walking slowly through the woods toward Loudon's Corner 3 miles away. It was a local stop on the railroad just below Eel River. And the train south was due in at 9 that night. I had plenty of time to catch it and make the transfer to Boston for the night train to New York. At the Boston station, I bought a cheap suitcase and a couple of shirts, and when the train dropped me at Grand Central early Sunday morning, I went straight to the 49th Street Hotel, which was just a couple of blocks from the Ambassador. I scrawled the name Henry Smith in the register and was shown to my room. I had a whole day and a night to wait, and for once, with all that time on my hands, I didn't read a book. Where could I find Miss Vale, one of the passengers?
What? What name?
Hester Vale.
Vale? Well, look over there by the fees. She hasn't gone through. She's probably there.
Thank you.
That's okay.
So help me, I'm going to call her.
Miss Vale? Miss Vale?
Yes.
Oh, good morning, Miss Vale.
You're Mr. Vandergrift.
That's right.
So good of you to come. My father promised you'd meet me.
How is your father?
Very well, thank you. Still growling about Europe's ruin. It's been a beastly nuisance, this waiting. Hi. Very warm in America.
Is there anything I can do to help?
Thank you. That chap's finally finished mucking about in my boxes. You'd think I was an adventuress, smuggling something priceless into your country, wouldn't you? Had nothing to declare, you know. Came with empty trunks. Expect to fill them up while I'm here. Can't buy a thing in Europe, you know. Europe's a dreadful nightmare.
Yes, so I understand.
Father told you all about it, did he? Foolish of him to write. The mail might have been opened.
Oh, no. After all, the war's over.
Is it?
Well, shall I take you to your hotel? You probably want to rest.
Rest? Not at all. I'm scooting out to the shops right off.
You have enough money for shopping?
They allowed me £100. I still have most of it. That'll do for a starter. If they'd only known, you know.
If you care to turn the contraband over, I could see about converting it into dollars for you.
Contraband? That's spies and all that sort of thing. I describe it exactly. It's very nice. Not now. I'll dig them out to the hotel.
All right. Is there anything you'd like to do this evening?
Oh, dear. I don't want to impose on your time.
You're not imposing. It's a pleasure.
But I'd like to see a play. One of your bright American musicals, if possible.
I think that can be arranged.
Nice.
Suppose I call for you at 7. We can have dinner and then go to the theater.
That's splendid. It's frightfully kind of you.
No, forget it. I haven't seen a musical myself. Well, not for a long time, anyway. I took her to her suite at the Ambassador, and I went back to my room to think over my plan. It was almost too simple. As soon as she turned the securities over to me, I'd take them to a broker and collect. Then I'd catch the night train back to Loudon's Corner, then through the woods to Eel River. But tomorrow afternoon, I'd be in my canoe again as if nothing had happened. A few days after that, the canoe would come drifting down river wrong side up, and my stuff would be found floating in a quiet backwater. Under another name, I'd go out west. With $80,000, I'd never have to go back to that old life of quiet desperation. No, sir, I was through with that forever. As for the man who posed as Corbin Vandergrift, he'd never be found. And no one would ever connect him with the Homer Bigelow, who was drowned on a fishing trip in the swift waters of Eel River 250 miles away. Good evening, Miss Vale.
Hello, right on time.
How was the shopping?
I say it left me quite speechless. I can't wait until I can really go on a spree. Are we ready?
Oh, you are?
Quite. Oh, dear. Will you hold this key for me? There's simply no room in my bag for it.
Sure, I'll keep it in my pocket for you.
Thank you.
I picked a quiet little restaurant where I was sure I wouldn't meet anyone who knew me. The theater was going to be an ordeal, all those people, but that couldn't be helped. I had to play my part until she handed over those securities. I couldn't afford to look too anxious about them either, but I needn't have worried. While we were waiting for the dessert, she opened her bag and pulled out a package of about a dozen small envelopes, different sizes and different shapes.
Here you are, Miss Vandergrift. Take good care of them.
Are these?
They are.
I put them in my inside pocket. All the way down Broadway in the taxi, I felt them. The envelopes were too small, it seemed to me, to hold securities. Maybe if they were folded over. But even then, they would have to be bulkier than they were. I had to look into those envelopes to know if the securities were really there. But I had no chance, and it wasn't until the taxi dropped us in front of the theater that I was able to make one there.
Well, here we are.
Miss Vale, I wonder if you'd mind seeing the show alone.
Oh, dear.
I don't know what did it to me, but I've suddenly got a terrific headache.
Oh, that is too bad.
Oh, it'll be all right. I just thought the music and the excitement wouldn't help much.
No, I should think not. Suppose you take me back to the hotel, then, and go right home.
But wouldn't you like to see the show by yourself? You could, and then take a taxi back to the Ambassador.
Yes, I suppose I could.
I should hate to think a headache of mine spoiled your whole evening. Here, you take the tickets and go on in.
Thank you, I will. I'm dreadfully sorry you have to miss it.
Oh, I'll make up for it another time, Miss Vale. There are plenty of musicals you'll want to see.
You'll be sure to take something for the headache now, won't you?
I will. Thanks a lot for being so considerate. Good night, Miss Vale. Have a good time.
I'm sure to. Good night, Mr.
Back in my hotel room with shaking hands, I opened the envelope. There were nothing but letters from her friends, sent to her from different parts of the world. Not a single security in any of them. Could it have been a mistake? Did she hand me the wrong package? It didn't seem possible. Maybe she suspected something was wrong and played a trick on me. I was sweating and reached for my handkerchief, and that's when I felt her hotel key still in my pocket. I threw the package of letters into my suitcase and walked over to the Ambassador 2 blocks away. Her key opened the door, and I was alone in her suite. I had until at least 11:30, 2.5 hours. I took my time about it, making sure to put everything back exactly as I found it. I searched her baggage, the bureau drawers, the closet, every conceivable place, even under the rugs, and found exactly nothing. She had them on her then. I turned the light off and went into the bedroom to wait. Soon after 11:30, I heard the outer door open.
Really, I'm terribly sorry to have caused this trouble, Mr. Vandergrift, for suddenly taking with a headache, or I'm sure he would have forgotten to return my key.
Oh, that's all right. It really doesn't matter. You can use this duplicate until he returns it to you.
It's a bother, though.
Oh, not at all, Miss Vale. Happens often. Good night.
Thank you. Good night. Oh. Mr. Vandergrift. What are you doing here?
I'm sorry to disturb you, Miss Vale, but I had to come back. You see, you forgot to give me the securities.
Securities?
Yes, the securities I was to have sold for you.
But, my dear man, I did give you the securities.
Oh, no, there wasn't anything in the package except some letters from friends of yours.
Who are you? You're not Mr. Vandergrift.
Miss Vale, what my name is doesn't matter very much. By this time, it's enough for you to know that I want those securities, and I mean to get them. Hand them over.
You get out of here.
I warn you, Miss Vale, I don't want to get nasty, but I'm not going to leave without them.
Stay away from me.
The securities, Miss Vale.
Say not, no.
Where are they?
No.
Vale, tell me. I don't want to hurt you. The more she struggled, the tighter I gripped her throat. Her arms beat weakly against my sides. Suddenly, I got so mad at her that Where are they? Where are they? Tell me, where are they? My fingers tightened and strained against her soft flesh. Then suddenly, she quit struggling. And when I loosened my grip, she fell down on the floor unconscious. Where was that purse of hers? Out there. I ripped it open. Nothing there but a powder compact and a lipstick and some change. Where could they be? She'd have to tell me. I'd make her. Miss Vale, wake up. Miss Vale. She didn't move. And then I saw she wasn't breathing anymore. I'd killed her. I never meant to kill the girl. I hadn't any idea I was choking her that hard. All I wanted was... But no, I had to get away. I couldn't stay here with that limp body sprawled on the rug. But I had to be careful. I couldn't afford to make a mistake now. I tried to remember everything I'd read in detective stories. You had to be careful about fingerprints. I ran to the bathroom, grabbed a towel, and with it wiped every surface I might have touched. Then I dragged the body to the bedroom and put it on the bed. I shut the door behind me and turned the lights off in the sitting room. I listened a couple of seconds at the outer door. Everything was quiet. I ducked out and went to the stairs. The lobby was empty. I crossed over and went out into Park Avenue. 5 minutes later, I was at my hotel. It was 12:30. I could still catch the 1 o'clock train for Boston. Fine mess I'd made. The best thing that could happen to me now. Mind you, the best thing would be to get back home to the boarding house, to the bank, to that horrible, hopeless rut.
I'd try to get away from them. That was the best I had to look forward to. The worst, I didn't even have the courage to look at that. But then, how could they pin it on me? If anybody had anything to worry about, it wasn't me. It was Vandergrift. He had the date with her, not I. As far as anybody knew, I didn't know any such person as Hester Vale ever existed. Vandergrift was the guy she told the desk clerk she'd given the key to. I bet the poor sap wouldn't even be able to prove an alibi for last night, midnight. Yes. I could go back to my fishing and forget the whole thing. Forget it ever happened. I was safe. Fine consolation that was, after all the beautiful plans I'd made. But at least I was safe. In Boston, I checked the new suitcase. I could pick it up on the way home. The local dropped me at Loudon's Corner. By noon, I was sitting over my campfire, having a bite just like any other fellow out on a fishing trip. 10 days later, on a Saturday morning, I was back at Emil's camp.
Well, Mr. Bigelow, how is the fishing, huh?
Fine, Emil, fine.
Oh, you get my sunburn. Last the rest of the year, anyway.
Did I really get that, Brom?
Like a berry, huh? Yeah, real nice and quiet, no? I have no party fishing before September when Mr. Pearson come with 4 friends.
Yes, I know. He told me.
Oh, he's some fisherman, Mr. Pearson. Always try for record. But you don't care for record, eh, Mr. Bigelow? You lead a simple, quiet life.
I guess so.
But you enjoy it, no?
Enjoy it? Well, I try my best.
You have other hobby, maybe, huh?
No, I don't have any other hobbies except reading.
Oh, well, Mr. Pearson and me, we have same hobby. That's why we such good friends.
I didn't know that.
Oh, we great one for philately, the stamp, you know, huh? Someday I show you my collection. It feels 3 albums. But I have not so good collection like Mr. Pearson. But then I don't have so much money.
Neither have I.
Oh, you make joke. Mr. Pearson, he very wealthy, I know. But still, Emil can give him some stamp once in a while. I have few duplicates. You do me big favor and give them to Mr. Pearson avec mes compliments, eh?
Why? Oh, sure, I'd be glad to.
Yes. Now I drive you to station. Next year you come again, no?
Yes, I'll come again.
Well, Homer, you're back, eh? Did you enjoy your rest?
Yes, it was fine, Mr. Pearson.
Good. I can't say we've had any enjoyment back here. Have you heard about Mr. Vandergrift?
Mr. Vandergrift? No, sir. Is there something wrong?
Wrong? I'll say there is. He's been arrested for murder. He insists he's innocent, but the police have a strong case against him, very strong. It looks bad indeed.
I'm sorry, sir.
So are we all. It means I'll have to give up my fishing trip this summer for one thing. I can't desert dear old Vandy at such a time. I'll have to wire Emil, and I just got a letter from him telling me he had everything arranged to.
Yes, he told me he was expecting you.
Oh, well. Can't be helped, I guess. Oh, say, by the way, he wrote that he sent some duplicates on to me in your care. Stamps.
Stamps? Oh, that's right, he did. Sorry, I forgot about them, Mr. Pearson. I must have them at home. I'll bring them in tomorrow, sir.
Well, there's no hurry. I have no mind for them now anyway. Well, back to work. Come on, go back to work.
That night I looked for the stamps, but couldn't find them. How I ever managed to lose them, I'll never know. Now I'd have to explain to Miss Pearson. No, I wouldn't have to explain. I still had those letters, her letters. They were from foreign countries. I'd take the stamps from those envelopes and give them to Miss Pearson. He'd never know the difference. I knew how fussy he could get about a little thing like lost stamps. Rather than get him started on a lecture, I got out the package of letters, cut the stamps off, and then burned the letters and the envelopes. The next day...
Yes?
Here are the stamps, sir. I found them at home, all right.
Oh, well, just put them on the desk, Homer. Thank you very much.
Don't mention it, Mr. Pearson. I was having my lunch later in the boardroom when Mr. Pearson came in. He had a stranger with him. A tall man with an angry face.
Oh, so here you are, Homer.
Yes, sir.
Homer, I want you to meet Mr. Scott.
How do you do?
All right. Those stamps you gave me, Homer, are you sure you got them from Emil?
Oh, yes, sir. Just before I left, he gave them to me for you.
No, Homer. No, I just called Emil. He told me he gave you some recent French issues. Those weren't the stamps you gave me.
Well, Mr. Pearson, I guess you found me out. You see, I lost the stamps Emil gave me, and I didn't want to disappoint you, so I went to a stamp dealer's and picked up a dozen odd stamps to replace them. I didn't think it would make much difference.
Is that your story, Bigelow?
Why, what do you mean? It's true.
They were very rare and valuable stamps, Homer. You must have shelled out a pretty penny for them.
Oh, I don't know.
Mr. Pearson feels a man in your position couldn't afford to buy stamps like those unless...
Unless what?
Unless you didn't buy them at all, Bigelow. Unless you got them from the late Miss Hester Vale.
What's the matter, Homer? Is the name familiar to you?
Oh, no, sir. I never heard of...
What makes us think so is that the stamps Miss Vale smuggled into this country were the same issues and worth exactly as much. $80,000.
We're worth $80,000?
Could it be a coincidence, Mr. Bigelow?
Quiet desperation. I've been catching up on my reading here in prison while waiting. I found another good quote. Happiness is the absence of pain.
Suspense. Quiet Desperation, starring Walter Abel and presented by Roma Wines. That's R-O-M-A, Roma Wines. Those better tasting wines selected for your pleasure from the world's greatest reserves of fine wines. More Americans enjoy Roma wines than any other wines because Roma wines taste better. To create this better taste, Roma begins with natural juices, gently pressed from California's choicest grapes. Then Roma master vintners, with ancient skill and unmatched wine-making resources, guide these luscious grape treasures unhurriedly to taste perfection. Then, these better-tasting wines are placed with mellow Roma wines of years before. And from these, the world's greatest wine reserves, Roma later selects for your pleasure. Right now, a wonderful way to discover the better taste of Roma wines is to serve Roma wine and soda, iced. For cool, lip-smacking refreshment, enjoy delicious Roma wine and soda made with your favorite Roma wine. That's Roma, America's largest selling wines.
Walter Abel will soon be seen in the Hal Roach production, Fabulous Joe. Tonight's suspense play was by George and Gertrude Fass. Next Thursday, same time, you will hear Donald O'Connor as star of Suspense. Produced and directed by William Spear for the Roma Wine Company of Fresno, California. In the coming weeks, Suspense will present such stars as Edmund O'Brien, John Lund, Lloyd Nolan, and many others. Make it a point to listen each Thursday to Suspense, radio's outstanding theater of thrills. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Suspense. For the perfect prelude to gracious dining, for distinguished entertaining, for rare taste pleasure, serve a Cresta Blanca California Sherry. That's C-R-E-S-T-A B-L-A-N-C-A. Cresta Blanca. Cresta Blanca. Yes, the knowing tongue has discovered that the world produces no finer sherry than Cresta Blanca. And there's a Cresta Blanca sherry for every taste, for every occasion. Yes, it's smart before dinner to pour delightfully dry Cresta Blanca dry watch. And after dinner, to serve creamy rich Cresta Blanca triple cream. Shenley's Cresta Blanca Wine Company, Livermore, California.
And now, with Mr. Donald O'Connor as star, Shenley brings you radio's outstanding theater of thrills,
Suspense.
Presented by Roma Wines. That's R-O-M-A. Roma Wines for your everyday enjoyment.
Tonight, Roma Wines of Fresno, California bring you Donald O'Connor in Smiley, a suspense play produced, edited, and directed for Shenley by William Spear.
For 22 years, I was without trouble. I got along with people. They liked me. They called me Smiley. Because that's the way it was with me. My eyes, I mean. Laughing, the way I always was inside. And then I had this thing with the woman. And the laugh went out of my eyes and out of my insides. That's when I learned that thing or two, especially about women. That's when I learned that some women don't even have the right to live. It was on my day off and sort of late at night. And I was just walking along the street, not going anywhere in particular or even thinking anything much. Just sort of whistling to myself and walking along the street.
What do you want?
Well, me? Why, nothing. Nothing at all.
You've been following me.
Oh, no, I haven't been following you.
What are you looking at me that way for? What are you looking at me and smiling that way for?
I just smile at everybody, lady.
Go away. Don't come near me. Oh!
Shut up!
Oh! Ah!
Shut up! That was when the cop grabbed me and they threw me into jail just because she lied about me. She said I was bothering her. She said I hit her. She said I was staring at her. She said I was following her, probably going to rob her. And they all believed it, too. They didn't say so, but they were all thinking about those women that got killed lately. I know. So they believed the woman. And about my hands. They didn't believe that either. They thought I was funny about my hands. About hands nobody understands. Nobody.
The defendant will rise. Gerald Smythe, do you have anything to say before this court pronounces sentence?
Well, I'm a decent man, Judge. I got a job. I'm a decent working man. I didn't follow her. I didn't hit her. I didn't do anything she says.
The jury has disagreed with you, Mr. Smythe. You say you have a job?
Yes, sir.
What kind of a job?
I'm a dishwasher.
Dishwasher, huh? Let me see your hands.
Oh, sure. Oh, they're nice. I keep them that way.
Order, please, order. Yes, I see.
They're long and smooth and white. I keep them this way.
Mr. Smythe, you will find that lying does not help you in this court. Your hands may be, indeed, are everything you say. But they are certainly not the hands of a working man, least of all a dishwasher. I sentence you to 2 years and 6 months in the county prison.
I didn't blame the judge. I was there in the first place because of the woman. Only because of her, and I worked out my time with my hands. My hands are still long, but they're not smooth. They're not white. They're not pretty anymore. It was November when I got out. Cold. Cold outside, and I was cold inside. I had no place to go except back to the Busy Bee Cafe in Curly. All the way back to town, I thought of Curly. His hands weren't like mine. They were short and stubby, but golly, they were good. The way he used them, I mean. Whatever he was doing. Slapping pie dough or handling a side of beef or choking the life out of a chicken. He was purely good. I walked into the kitchen. And there he was working. He didn't see me because I was behind him, but after a while he must have felt me because he jumped like he was shot.
What do you want?
I want my job back.
You want your job? Smiley. Smiley, good Lord, man, I didn't
Yeah,
know...
Curly, it's me. How about that job?
Hey, you remember you ran out on me once.
Yeah, I drew a blank.
Yeah, you sure drew a big one. Hey, you look different somehow. Wait a minute. Your face. Your eyes, they changed, Smiley. Well, what did you do? Quit laughing?
You might say that. You purely might. I changed. My hands, too. See? They're better, huh?
Yeah, they're not the same either.
Hey, remember how you used to ride me about that hot water? And how I even bought rubber gloves once? Well, look. Look, Curly. Hot water. Now, that's hot. Now, watch.
Hey, you fool. That's pure steam. Now, what are you trying to do? Kill yourself?
I'm just proving I'll keep the water hot. I don't need to worry about my hands now.
Yeah, well, look, kid. Look, you better have something to eat, huh? We'll talk about hot water later.
Say, Curly, where are they? Well, laughing boy is back. Where you been, honey? Off on the bum? What's the matter with your happy friend, Curly? One of us hateful women take him over the high road? Why don't you say something, one of you?
Smiley don't feel good, Cookie. Now, you better get back in front. We might get a customer.
You don't want me around. That's all right with me.
Smiley, what's with you? You haven't changed that much, have you? You and Cookie used to be...
She reminds me of a dame.
Well, why not? She is a dame.
I've been in jail, Curly.
Oh?
A dame sent me there.
Yeah?
I don't like dames, Curly. I don't like dames. I tried to tell him about it, but I knew I couldn't make him understand. Still, I couldn't get it out of my mind. It was still there. While I was talking to him, while he was taking me up to his rooms to show me where I could stay, all the time it was there for good now. I knew that.
Well, here we are, fella. Home. And there's the extra bed I was telling you about. Yeah, be it ever so humble, this is it. Now, look, kid, you've had a rough ride, sure. Now, you stay here with me as long as you want. Get some rest, then we start fresh, huh? Hey, maybe you want to be a fry cook now.
Oh, thanks. Hey, maybe if you could teach me to use your hands, the way you do, maybe I can learn to use them right.
Yeah, you betcha. Now, look, you forget what's happening, we get to work. Check? It's all over.
Maybe it is, and maybe it isn't. Look here. Out there on the street.
Well, look, kid, this housing pitch is rough. If you're looking for scenery, you ain't going to get it here.
What do you see out there?
A view that's worth just about 1/10 what I paid for it. It stinks.
I don't mean that. You see that dame?
Yeah?
You know something about her, Curly? She could get dead.
Huh?
There's maybe 1,000 windows around here, and a bullet from any one of them would get her dead. And it'd be pretty hard to find out who did it.
Yeah, now look, kid, you don't like women, and I don't blame you, but you can't go around putting slugs in people, even dames. That'd pay off like keeping your water too cool did. Only you'd get more than any 2.5 years.
Yeah. But all I'd have to do is raise the window, aim, and a dead dame.
Hey, get away from that window. I don't know about you. I just don't know. What's the matter with you, Smiley?
I told you. I just don't like dames. Curly's face was as white as a clean apron. He was mad a little and scared, but I still couldn't explain to him what it took me 2.5 years to figure. That a man works hard. And when he works, he's got some pay coming. All the time I was in jail, I knew I wasn't about to get a nickel for all the work of digging and shoveling and laying concrete. And the one thing I was proud of was ruined. My hands. And I figured to collect some pay for that work if it was the last thing I ever did. And I figured it out good. Just what the pay ought to be. 1 woman. 1 dead dame. I couldn't explain it to Gurley. I guess I didn't have to. He thought I was nuts. Anyway, he drove me like a slave, but I didn't mind. I was learning.
Let's see now. 2 apple, 1 peach. Better make it 2. 2 coconut, 1 chocolate. Well, what we got, that ought to hold 'em. Hand me those peaches, Smiley.
Oh, sure, Curly. Here you are.
Yeah, thanks.
Boy, oh, boy. Gee, Curly, the way you handle things.
What do you mean?
Well, the way you pour fruit from that can, and the way you're putting the rim on that pie crust, and the way you knead the dough, and... Oh, you know how to use your hands.
Smiley, listen. Your hands are the most important things you got in the kitchen. You gotta learn to squeeze hard, and you gotta know just when to use the most delicate touch. Hands are important.
Oh, I wish I could use mine the way you use yours, Curly. You're good.
Yeah, well, it takes a long time, Smiley, but you'll learn. Your hands got strong when you were up. Yeah, what I mean is you'll learn how to use them, kid.
Yeah. I get along all right, only...
Only what?
Cookie.
Oh, you letting that dame get you down? Ah, forget it.
I wish she was gone, Curly. I'm afraid.
Good morning, gentlemen. The world can now be fed. Lovely Cookie has arrived.
Yeah, fine. Well, you better get that front end lined up, chicken. It's time to open.
Sure. Oh, Smiley, honey. Smiley, say hello to the pretty lady.
Beat it.
Smiley. Okay, Cookie, take off.
Oh, Curly, Smiley didn't say good morning. My day will be ruined.
Oh, nuts.
Brother, ain't that a whip?
Hey, Cookie, why don't you leave the kid alone? He's had a tough time. He doesn't feel good.
Well, why doesn't he smile anymore? That's all. Just let him smile.
Well, the last time he smiled at the dame, he picked up a fistful of stretch at the county farm. Now, you remind him of her. He quit smiling.
Oh, was that so? Well, I'm used to being treated like a human, see? And just because a guy's nuts...
All right, Cookie, get to work.
Okay, but you just remember, one of these days we're going to have a showdown, and it'll be either him or me.
Take it easy.
You just remember, someday it'll be him or me.
I heard what Cookie said. I stood right outside the door and heard her. Someday it'll be him or me. There was a weight like a 2-story building in my stomach, and my hands were going open and shut, And I knew she was right. Me or her.
For Suspense, Roma Wines are bringing you Donald O'Connor in Smiley. Roma Wines' presentation tonight in radio's outstanding theater of thrills, Suspense.
Suspense, radio's outstanding theater of thrills, is presented by Roma. That's R-O-M-A. Roma Wines. From the world's greatest reserves of fine wines. Have you ever thought how easy it is to turn a casual call by friends or neighbors into a delightful party? Simply set out some fruit, cheese, or nuts, and delicious Roma California wine. Yes, these are the inexpensive ingredients of real enjoyment. The simplest occasion takes on a festive note when you pour better tasting Roma wine. So enjoy golden Roma Muscatel or glowing Roma port after dinner or whenever guests drop in. As you savor the mellow goodness of these delicious Roma wines, you will understand why more Americans enjoy Roma than any other wine. So, for an everyday family treat or for smart hospitality, serve better tasting Roma wines. That's R-O-M-A. Roma Wines. America's largest selling wines.
And now Roma Wines bring back to our Hollywood soundstage Lorene Tuttle as Cookie, Sidney Miller as Curly, and starring Donald O'Connor as Smiley, who continues a narrative well calculated to keep you in suspense.
It added up. I was going to get my pay. But now it wasn't just some dame, some time. It was a particular dame. Cookie. And soon. When I went inside, my hands were still going like that, open and shut. And all day I just watched Curly and the way he used his hands. His technique, as he called it. The way he squeezed when he had to. It was so important, the technique, I mean. You had to squeeze just right. Just right.
Hey, Smiley. What are you doing, kid?
Oh, I'm just squeezing mashed potatoes out of this bag. Making designs like you do on cakes.
Ah, that's great. Well, what kind of design do you call that?
Oh, it's just a hand, I guess.
Hand? Oh, brother, that hand couldn't do much. Look how fat you got it up at the thumb.
Oh, that, I guess I squeezed too hard.
Smiley, you'll be all right, kid. You stay with it.
Well, laughing boy's growing up. Is little Smiley going to be a pastry cook?
Lay off the kid, Cookie. Lay off, I told you.
I know, Curly, I know, and I told you. Let the boy take care of himself.
Yeah, Curly, take it easy. It's all right now.
Well, how do you like that?
It's all right.
Gee, are we going to be friends now, Smiley?
Well, we can try. How do you like this design, Cookie?
That? Oh, well, it's okay. What is it?
It's a hand.
A hand?
Yeah, a hand, he calls it.
Oh, sure. See, these are the fingers here.
They're awful long for fingers.
Oh, I don't know. See? Look at my hand. My fingers are long.
Yeah, they are.
It's just that you don't notice. People don't notice dishwashers' hands. That's why I'm going to be a fry cook and a pastry cook. Then they won't be cracked and dirty like they are now. They'll stay soft. And strong, too. Soon as I get to be a cook.
Sure they will, Smiley.
Yeah, well, now that you two are very lovey-dovey, how about breaking it up, huh? I want to get home.
You mean you really go home when you're through here?
Well, of course I go home. Where do you go?
Oh, lots of places. Tonight I got a date with Johnny Mac, the singing sensation out at the Natural Pass. I gotta go out there and meet him.
The Natural Pass?
Yeah. That's a joint at 711 Green Grove. 711 Natural Pass.
Yeah.
Get it?
yeah, get it.
What kind of guy is he? You gotta go to him.
Oh, he's working. He can't come in here.
He must have appeal.
You ain't kidding, brother.
How do you get out to this joint? You hitchhike?
You kidding? I take a bus to the end of the line, call a cab from the drugstore, and go on out.
Oh.
Class.
Hey, how about that, Smiley? Class yet?
I guess a crooner would rate it.
Yeah. Well, you better get that front end cleaned up, Cookie, if you're going to meet this Johnny Songbird.
I guess I better. Boy, on the day I quit slinging hash.
Have a good time, Cookie. Have a good time. It would all depend on why you quit slinging hash. Being glad about it, I mean. When an idea puts a saddle on your brain and starts riding it, it's purely funny how many other ideas it picks up. Like Cookie going to the Natural Pass. It just fit in with everything. I quick finished my work and told Curly I had something to do and took off like a kid on the last day of school. You know, sort of slow until I got outside. And then I wanted to whoop and jump up and down like I had springs instead of muscles. I couldn't do all that, but I could walk fast, and I did. I went up to the room and got my money and changed clothes. Then I went down and rented a car and drove out to the end of the bus line. I stopped and waited. I guess I waited an hour and a half watching all the buses, hoping that dame wouldn't cross me up. She didn't. Cookie!
Who is it?
It's me, Smiley.
Oh. What are you doing out here?
Oh, I just wanted to get out of town for a while, so I rented a car. When I got out here, I remembered what you said about coming out. I thought I'd just wait for you.
Oh, Smiley, honey, you got more stalls than Santa Anita. I'll bet you planned it, didn't you? You could be a sweet guy, you know that.
Come on, I'll take you to the club. How far is it?
About a mile and a half.
Let's go.
I guess you could be a sweet guy. I guess I added you up wrong.
It's possible.
You're a funny guy, Smiley.
You think so?
Yeah. I don't quite get you.
You're making cracks again.
No, I'm serious. Really, I am. You don't smile like you used to, and usually you seem so... Well, anyway, I didn't expect this from you.
I lost the smile, I guess. Maybe for good.
The way you're always talking about your hands.
What about my hands?
Well, you make like they're the most important things in the world.
And they're not, is that it?
Well, it's according to how you look at it, I guess. Now, look, Smiley, no passes.
No. No passes. I wanted to hear this. You said...
Why, I didn't say nothing, just about your hands.
I remember. You said they aren't important.
Well, not exactly. They're kind of nice. They're form good, if you know what I mean. But after all, they're just hands like anybody else's.
No. They're good hands, and since I came back, I've learned how to use them right.
Yeah, Smiley, yeah, but there are more important things than hands.
Yeah?
Yeah. Women, for instance.
Women. Yeah. That's a laugh. Cookie, do you know why my hands are rough and red now? Do you know why I don't smile? Women.
Ah, Smiley, I've been around. I know how you feel. Golly, if women aren't important, where are they?
Cookie, there's only one way to find out if hands are more important, or if a woman is.
Huh?
You have to make the test, Cookie. What's more important?
You said no passes, Smiley.
I'm not passing, Cookie. I'm not passing. I mean this.
Wait a minute, take it easy. Smiley! Oh, Smiley!
Women.
Oh.
Women. More important. I'll show you what's important. Women! Payday. For 2 years in jail. One dead dame. The whole world changed. For a minute, my hands were going open and shut like this. My technique was perfect. Absolutely perfect. They weren't satisfied, my hands, but they'd have to get used to it. All I wanted inside like was payday, and this was the day. I looked around to be sure no cars were coming. I took her out of the car and dragged her into the bushes where she wouldn't be found for a while. I left her there. I felt good. Purely good. Like I'd worked very hard for something and finally got paid. All debts were paid. Everybody, including Smiley, was even with the world. It was wonderful. Just plain wonderful. The only thing was I couldn't tell Curly because even though he'd understood the technique part of it, the rest of it was something he wouldn't get. But could he have seen me use my hands, he'd have been proud. I know it. I took the car back to the U Drive, paid the man, collected my deposit, and went home. It was still early, and Curly was up.
Oh, hi. Where'd you go, kid?
Oh, just around. I got some fresh air. I didn't think you'd be up.
Yeah, sure. It ain't late. Well, maybe I'd better get to bed, though. Big day tomorrow.
Okay, I'll be with you in a minute.
Hey, you know, Smiley, I've been thinking that you should maybe move over to the stove, huh?
Oh, swell. I won't have to work in hot water anymore.
Is that? Oh, no. I'll get another pearl diver. You can come over with me. Hey, look at you.
What's the matter with me?
Well, nothing. I just noticed you're making with the eyes again, the way you used to. What happened, fella?
I don't know. I didn't think about it. Why?
Well, this is wonderful, yeah? I'll bet Cookie will be surprised to see you.
Cookie?
Yeah, sure. One of her beefs is you don't smile. Dames don't like you to be grouchy. Wait till she sees you like this.
Yeah.
Who could that be this time of night?
How do I know?
Mr. Smith, oh, you're him. Hello, Mr. Smith.
Smythe, not Smith.
I'm from the U Drive. When you brought the car back tonight, you let this pocketbook in it. Had 15 fish in it. Thought the lady might want it.
Oh, yeah. Thank you very much.
Forget it. Come see us again.
Hey, what's this? A U Drive yet? A dame's purse. Hey, you were on the town, weren't you?
Yeah, I guess so. I'll give it back tomorrow.
Yeah. Who is she? Do I know it?
Just a dame.
Well, at least she could make you smile again. Come on, I'll turn out the light. Let's get some sleep. Yes, sir, Smiley. You're doing all right. You stick to your work and we'll make a real team. Remember the technique. Hey, Smiley, will you answer me something now?
Well, sure, Curly. What is it?
What happened to that crazy idea you had when you got out of the pokey? Remember you was telling me how you could put the blast on a dame and you... Hey, Smiley, look at me. Smiley, you didn't... Oh, that's crazy.
What, Curly?
I always said you had to be whacked up to get in the restaurant business. I'm just proving it. Boy, I thought for a minute you'd... Oh, I'm nuts. Oh, boy, this bed feels good. I really need to sleep. Imagine me thinking you'd be crazy enough to bump off a dame. Well, good night, Smiley.
Good night, Curly. Good night.
Good night.
Sweet dreams.
Hey, what are you doing? Hey, get it out, Smiley. Take your hands off my face. What are you doing? Stop it. Hey, Smiley, what are you doing? Smiley!
I'm sorry. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. I hadn't planned on it at all. I didn't want to hurt Curly. He was my friend. We were going to go places together, him and me. I was learning his techniques. And then I got scared and did that. All on account of a woman. Every bit of it. It was a woman who started it. If it hadn't been for her, I wouldn't have had to show my hands to that judge. And he wouldn't have looked at them, and maybe he wouldn't have sent me up. My hands. Look at them. They're back in condition. I've had over 6 months to sit here and do nothing. Just watch Pop out there pace up and down. He's been keeping track of the days for me. He told me this morning, 2 more days, son. 2 more days. Just 2 more days. I wish it was longer. My hands are so pretty again. And now they're strong. And they got a lot of technique. If I was out there, no telling what I could do with hands like these.
Suspense. Smiley, starring Donald O'Connor and brought to you by Roma Wines. That's R-O-M-A. Roma Wines, America's largest selling wines. When the weather is so hot and humid that everybody feels like a rag, try this wonderful cooler offer on your thirsty family and friends. A tall, refreshing Roma wine and soda, made with better tasting Roma California wine. Simply half-filled glasses with robust Roma Burgundy, delicate Roma Sauterne, or any Roma wine of your choice. Add ice cubes. Fill up with sparkling water and sweeten to taste. In just seconds, you beat the heat with the coolest, tastiest summer drink that ever soothed a parched throat. Roma wine and soda is so cool to come home to. You'll want to enjoy this delicious refresher often. Remember, for cool enjoyment at its delicious best, serve Roma wine and soda, made with Roma, R-O-M-A, better tasting Roma wines.
Donald O'Connor may soon be seen in the Universal International production Something in the Wind. Tonight's suspense play was by Charles Glenn. Next Thursday, same time, you will hear John Lund as star of Suspense. Produced and directed by William Spear for the Roma Wine Company of Fresno, California. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
They're going to nominate none other than yours truly.
I see.
And that's as good as election in this town.
Yeah, but I thought...
You thought you were going to get it, huh? I'm sorry, Sam. I just assumed you did get it, really. I didn't go looking for it, you know that, but they picked me for some reason. And what's the difference, Sam? What's good for me is good for you. We're partners, aren't we? And we'll stay partners.
Oh, yes, of course. Congratulations, George.
You don't really mind, do you, about the nomination?
Oh, no, it doesn't matter.
Well, I thought not. After all, my being the DA will bring the firm a lot of business, Sam. Well, I got to go tell Alice. She'll be tickled pink to hear the news. But keep it under your hat, Sam. It's not official until the committee meeting.
I understand. I watched George leave the office. George, the smiling and the debonair, the most popular lawyer in town. But it was my work that made him look good in court. My brain that brought him every easy success at the bar. And I hated him for having so easily gotten what I'd have given half my life for. He'd gotten himself engaged to Alice, the girl I wanted almost as much as I wanted to live. Now he'd taken the first step in a political career that could lead anywhere. I'd tried by fair means to get the same things and failed. Now I would try other means. I picked up my hat and walked out of the office. I went down to the waterfront to see a certain Mr. Screed.
Yes. Oh, hello.
Let me in quick. I don't want to be seen.
Sure. Come in.
Are you alone?
I always am. It ain't quite right, is it, Mr. Boston? Coming to see the foreman on a case you're going to try tomorrow?
I'm not going to try that case tomorrow. I know I picked the jury today, but I won't be at the trial. My partner will be trial counsel.
Well, it still ain't right, it seems to me.
Never mind that, Screed. I think you and I can get along.
Always aim to get along. Not that I got rich at it, but I ain't complaining. Not too much.
Listen, Screed, I know you're hard up.
It ain't no secret. I guess everyone in the city knows that.
I can put $10,000 in your way, Screed.
Huh?
Cash.
10,000? Hey, that case don't rate no 10,000. Why, you could buy the complaining witness for 1/10 of that.
I know. I'm not interested.
Suspense! On the wine lists of America's most distinguished hotels and restaurants, the honored wine featured is Cresta, Blanca, Cresta Blanca. Cresta Blanca. Yes, Cresta Blanca wines are featured in America's smartest dining places because these treasured wines are favorite selections of those who know fine cuvées. Let Cresta Blanca California wines lend gracious distinction to your dining, too. Enjoy delightful Cresta Blanca Burgundy, Sauterne, or any Cresta Blanca table wine soon. Shenley's Cresta Blanca Wine Company, Livermore, California.
And now, Shenley brings you radio's outstanding theater of thrills,
Suspense!
Presented by Roma Wines. That's R-O-M-A. Roma Wines. For your everyday enjoyment.
Tonight, Roma Wines of Fresno, California bring you Jerome Cowan in Mortmain, a suspense play produced, edited, and directed for Shenley by William Spear.
Sitting in a chair across the table from me was a dead man. His stiff, cold fingers still touched the shotgun he'd thought would safeguard his life. Police Chief Martin couldn't seem to sit still a minute. He kept pacing the floor behind me, back and forth, back and forth. We'd been waiting a couple of hours already for the coroner to arrive and examine Screed's body. Meanwhile, every cop in the city was out looking for George Perry, the obvious murderer. Where the devil was that coroner? You know, it's not the pleasantest thing in the world to sit around a dirty kitchen with nothing to do but stare into the face of a dead man and think. Think how it all started that day less than 3 years ago when George Perry, my law partner at the time, walked into our office and told me the good news.
Sam, oh boy, congratulate me.
What for?
You're looking at the next district attorney.
What? You?
Yep, it's in the bag. I've just come from a talk with Harry Polk, and he told me that when the committee holds its meeting next month...
Make a reputation for himself. And while this case is peanuts, still he wants to win it. He knows he can't unless he's got someone on the jury to cooperate. And he thinks maybe I'm his man. He offered me $200 to hold out for an acquittal.
Did you take the money?
Well, sure. Sure, I played right along, Your Honor. I told him I'd do what he wanted. But all the time, I was just kidding him.
See, I was going to tell you what happened just as soon as court opened. Here, Your Honor. Here's the 200. Brand new $100 bills.
Why didn't you notify the authorities sooner?
Well, there wasn't no hurry, was there, Judge? He wasn't going to run away. And I knew I could spill the beans this morning instead of wasting half the night down at headquarters.
Your Honor, may I question that man?
You may not.
But he's crucifying me with a wicked lie. I should have the right to defend myself, to cross-examine him.
You will have that right in the proper forum. I declare a mistrial in the case before me. The Assistant District Attorney will obtain a copy of the minutes for preparation to the presentation to the grand jury. Bailiff, you will place Mr. Perry under arrest. Court's adjourned.
I showed the proper expected astonishment at the news. I expressed my sympathy in 100 different ways. I even arranged bail and took on my partner's defense personally. And when I spoke to George, already half broken under the strain, and to Alice, filled with worry and doubt, I was as calm and assured as a retired bank president. Why, it's as plain as the nose on your face, George. It's a political trick. The opposition somehow heard about your being the next DA and were out to spike you before you even got started.
But who did it?
You leave that to me. I'll get him, whoever he is, and when I do, the case will fall apart.
Sam, I don't know what we'd do without you. You've been like the Rock of Gibraltar to both of us. If we didn't have you to turn to...
You leave everything to Sam, Alice. He'll get your George out of this jam and know the reason why.
I know it, Sam. Darling, you see, everything will be all right.
But we haven't gotten anywhere, Sam. Not a single clue to the man who is behind this.
Something will turn up. We still have 3 weeks before the trial. Now, if you're innocent, George, you're not going to jail.
If I'm innocent? There's no question of that in your mind, is there?
Well, that doesn't really matter. You're going to beat this rap. Now, don't you worry.
No, Sam, no, you can't believe it. You can't really think I tried to bribe him. You know me better than that, Sam.
Sure, George, sure. I don't believe it. Now, I'm naturally going to in the case as a case, but I am interested in your being the foreman of that jury.
I don't get it.
First, let's understand each other. I'm offering you $10,000 for certain services. Are you interested?
You kidding? Why, for 10 grand, I'd just about commit murder.
I thought I had the right man. Now, listen. Tomorrow I'm...
Hear ye, all persons having business before this honorable court of criminal sessions, draw near and give your attention, ye shall be heard. First case on the calendar, People against Henry Barron. Both sides ready.
Your Honor, please. There's been a substitution of counsel for the defendant. I will try this case in place of Mr. Boston, who was taken ill yesterday afternoon.
Very well, Mr. Perry. The clerk will note your appearance. Is the Assistant District Attorney ready to proceed?
Ready, Your Honor.
Call your first witness.
Just a minute, Judge.
What is it, Mr. Screed?
Before this case begins, I've got something to say.
Does it pertain to this trial? You're not seeking to be excused from jury duty at this late hour, are you?
Well, that depends, Your Honor. Maybe I'd better not serve on this jury.
Why not?
Because the defendant's attorney tried to bribe me last night.
What?
That's a lie. My partner would do no such thing.
I ain't talking about your partner. I'm talking about you, George Perry.
What?
Come out of that jury box, Mr. Screed. Step up here. Clerk, swear him.
You solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
You charge Mr. Perry with an attempted bribe, Mr. Screed?
I do.
Your Honor, I protest. This outrageous charge...
You have your opportunity to defend yourself, Mr. Perry, in the proper place and at the proper time. Just now I'm interested in this charge. Mr. Screed, you understand you're under oath. I want your entire story.
Well, there ain't much to tell. Last night about 10 o'clock, I was home having some coffee. I heard a knock at the door, and I go to answer it. It's Mr. Perry. He comes in and he tells me that his partner is sick and that he's taking over the case. I tell him maybe he oughtn't to be talking to me, but he winks at me and he says it'll be all right. So I let him talk just to see what's in the wind.
I was never at his house. The man's lying.
Quiet. Proceed, Mr. Screed.
He tells me he's out
to give my full time to getting up your defense, and Alice can help me.
Oh, Sam, I don't know how to thank you for standing by us. I'll never forget this. Never.
Well, you'd do the same for me, wouldn't you? All right, now, you two. Don't worry. You've got an awfully good lawyer, you know. I got George to go away up to Fieldstone for a few weeks. I spent a lot of time driving Alice around in search of non-existent witnesses. My zeal and devotion to George were unbounded. And if I failed to find any proof of his innocence, it hurt me as much as it did Alice. In time, even she began to wonder, to have a gnawing doubt.
Doesn't look good, does it?
No, not too good.
Sam, what are we going to do?
Oh, now don't you get to worrying, Alice. A smart lawyer can do a lot, even without witnesses. Don't forget, the law assumes that a man is innocent until he's proved to be guilty, beyond a reasonable doubt.
Sam, I've never asked you this. I've always wanted to go on thinking that George was innocent. But I must know. Did he do it?
Alice.
Did he, Sam? You would know.
No, Oh, if I did know, I wouldn't tell you.
Why, Sam? Why should he have done a thing like that? It wasn't an important case. It didn't really matter if he lost it.
Well, he'd just been offered the nomination for district attorney. Maybe that had something to do with it. Who knows? All I can say is I'll do my best to get him off.
Sam, you've been just wonderful. I've never really known how wonderful you could be until this past month. You've worked so hard. You've been so understanding, so sympathetic. If it hadn't been for you, I couldn't have gone on. No matter how this turns out, I want you to know I'll always be grateful.
Thanks, Alice. Well, tomorrow is our big day in court, and I want to be on my toes. For George and for you. Good night, dear. I was brilliant in court that day. Every legal dodge, every technicality that the law allowed, I made use of. From the last spectator in the last crowded row to the judge on the bench. They all knew that I was putting up the greatest legal fight they'd ever witnessed. But I couldn't break the keystone of the prosecution, the testimony of Screed. No matter how much I went over his testimony, his story stood up, became stronger with every question I hammered home.